Lost generation, coming back to you again. Canadians, you didn't think I was going to leave you out, did you? Anyways, this is how you're being ripped off. Canadian coin version. And these are all Canadian quarters. And in my haste to set this video up, I forgot to grab my really early quarters. So earlier than 1920, I actually do have a few of them, but I forgot to grab them. And what you're seeing here is various dates of the Canadian quarter, and you're seeing the progression of inflation, devaluation, and debasement. And you can see that in the silver content, the base metal content, and the actual melt value of the coin. So let's dive right in. Earlier than 1920, you had 92.5% silver, 7.5% copper. It's also known as sterling silver. And after 1920, they went ahead and debased that coin a little bit. They went to 80% silver, 20% copper. Now, 1941 and 1966 have the same composition in terms of alloys. But I put a 1966 in there because that was the year before they changed it. And I happen to have a 66, a 67, and a 69, which shows you how wildly they changed the composition of the coin in that time frame, just over a couple of years. So we have a 1941, and the melt value on that is just over $2 US. So the 80% silver content in that quarter would give it a current day melt value in US dollars of $2.17. Let's look at our 1966. 1966, same composition, same melt value of $2.17 roughly. And then just the year after that, they released the Centennial Quarter in Canada. It's actually a pretty cool coin. The back is very interesting. Big divergence from their normal designs. So what they did there was they made it 50% silver, 50% copper. Still though, holds a melt value today of $1.36 roughly. So as you can see, the melt values on these silver coins are much higher than the face value currently. And back in the day, the purchasing power was higher, so that allowed your 25 cents to go a lot farther than it does now. And since it's been devalued, they've had to change the content of the alloy to stay ahead of that. And you'll see how cheap it gets here. 1969, your Canadian quarter, 99% nickel. So basically, it's pure nickel with minor impurities. And the melt value on that current day would be just under 6 cents US. So they got that melt value down to about 6 cents. Now, if you consider the fact of the exchange rate and a Canadian quarter, they're still coming out way ahead in terms of production cost on that. So you'd have your material cost plus your minting cost would be your production cost. And they can't have the production cost be higher than the purchasing power of the coin. So they cheapen out those alloys over time. We've already went over this with the US dollar, both in coin and on paper, in our other videos. So please check those out if you haven't seen them. Let's get up to the modern day though, shall we? We have here a 2008 Canadian quarter. Let's take a look at the composition of the alloy. Absolutely shocking. 94% steel, 3.8% copper, 2.2% nickel. Steel, the melt value of a quarter-sized piece of steel is absolutely nil. The copper value in that quarter might as well be pretty much nil. Same with the nickel content. I mean, you're talking fractions of a cent probably in melt value. I couldn't get exact data on it, and I'm not going to sit down and do all the math to figure it out, but it's very, very low. Those quarters, the material cost is next to nothing, and I sometimes joke that these steel coins are basically punched out of car bumpers, and it's not exactly true. They do have copper in there, nickel in there. Usually a car bumper is chrome-plated steel, but they put the copper in to make it a little bit easier to work and stamp and roll, and then they coat it with the nickel. So it's just nickel-plated. It doesn't have any nickel content in the planchet. They strike it and then plate it. So that's how the Canadian quarter has been debased over time. I apologize for having to shoot on the tablet again. It's just the most easy way to do this. I'm going to try to get you a better view of the coins. That's the progression in design. And actually, let me see. I'll show you the back of this Centennial. It's pretty cool. Anyways, this is Lost Generation. Equal opportunity. I got you, Canadians. Stay tuned for the You're Being Ripped Off British penny and British pound. Lost Generation, out.